Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Speedrun Insider. My name is CJitsallGewd. Thanks for joining me this week. I'm really excited for the guest we have on today. I wanted to take a minute to say thank you to everybody with all the downloads and the likes and the subscribes and all the things that you do to help keep the podcast free and clear so we can keep having the guests on that we want to have on. We don't have to chase Twitch partners. We don't have to play any algorithm games. We can focus on the content first and go from there. And interview the people that you want to listen to and the people that I want to talk to. And today is definitely one that you have all requested. So without further ado, my guest today wants to know where his fucking chuggers are at. He is the current undisputed God King amongst men of Spyro the Dragon, and he is the most recorded guest in the history of Speedrun Insider. He is the one and the only Dayoman. How are you doing today, Dayo?
I'm doing amazing, CJ. Oh, I'm so happy to be here, honestly. Actually, that introduction made me feel like I'm a fucking god at speedrunning. And you know what? I might just fucking be.
Dude, you kind of are. Like, I'm not, gonna, be the one to get the deity rod out, and I'm not shaking like a wand at you or anything, but I mean, anyone that commits 6 years to one game, that's like someone's 10,000 hours. That's like a Herculean trial.
I fucking calculated it the other day, and you know what? I'll just say right off the bat, I'm not too humble to admit the amount of time I put into speedrunning. I think a lot of speedrunners put a lot of time into their craft, and that's part of what makes it so fucking impressive. But yeah, I easily have over 10,000 hours in Spyro 1, just that game. And that's the one game I put down every other game that I was playing just to play this one pretty much every day for, like you said, on and off for the past 7 years, 8 years. And of course in the last 1 year or 2 years, that's every day streaming. And so thank you. I really want to say thank you with the most humility that I can. Thank you for acknowledging that, because not a lot of speedrunners get acknowledged for that amount of work they put in.
No, absolutely. I mean, you are, I can tell it. There's nobody that would argue that you're not committed to the craft. Right.
Thank you.
And that is really impressive, because I feel like there are so many people out, and they are people that put in the time. They are the 10,000 hour person. And I'm not going to name them because I don't want to make it personal about certain people. But if you think about the big speed games that define this current time of speedrunning and who is at the forefront, it's so rare that someone has invested the amount of time that you have, and also is someone that has managed to make it as entertaining as you have while doing it.
Well, dude, thank you, man. I often stress about the entertainment value of what I do with speedrunning, because the truth is, and I'm sure many others can relate to me who stream on Twitch, that you're not always being funny or being entertaining or even in a good mood. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're in a shitty mood, but you're still doing runs and you're still trying your best, and you're trying not to get pissed off at every person that says something sideways to you in chat. It's just how it is. It's a tough hobby to pursue, and it really means a lot to me that you think that I'm entertaining beyond just being good at a fucking video game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want to talk about this more in depth, but before we get too far away, before we can't go back, I want to go back a little bit. And I want to go back to talk about who you are outside of speedrunning, because I also think that you are someone who's outside of speedrunning activities are more clearly defined. And I also think that really lends this, I don't know how to explain it. I really didn't know too much about Dayo. Dayo, fine? Dayoman? Is there an I mean, your name is Dayo in the Discord call. Okay.
Yeah. Dayoman. You could, actually, do you want me to tell you the story of how that username came to be?
1 second. I just want to
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
We're all in due time. And I think one of the things that's really hard to put your finger on is that you have this weird, not weird, it's weird in a good way, but the energy is a really good vibe, but it's almost cultish personality level of entertainment and identity and like sense of belonging in the chat. And I think that so much of that is to do with people having an idea of like who you are beyond you playing Spyro in another way, again, that I don't think people connect with top speedrunners of like other games. So
Yeah.
talk to me about like what else do you do besides speedrunning? I know that you skateboard because I've listened to you talk about skateboarding. I think you had mentioned like these really fat decks that you're looking for, and
Yeah, I
I
skate,
had
yeah.
one. I had
Yeah?
this fucking oh yeah. I ate shit on that thing 100,000 times,
Let's
like
go.
just face planted in my driveway. But this deck was like it was like a double wide. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I love decks like that, dude. I love like the 9+, 10-inch old school, freaking World Industries early double tail decks. Not super crazy old school, like, the super fishtail shape, but you're starting to get there, you know what I mean? And as long as you can just
Right.
get 2 kicks out of it, I'm just like, you know what, as wide as you can go and fucking slap that shit, try to do like a tray flip with it, and that's like fucking badass in my book. So
Where does skateboarding come in? When did you start skateboarding?
I started skateboarding at a really young age, like around like 6 or 7. My parents got me my first deck. And I'm from Southern California, so everything around me is like skate 3 levels of like fucking amazing architecture and city streets and sidewalks for me to explore and parks or whatever. So I've been skating from a very young age. And yeah, that's about it, really. I mean, I fucking don't skate as much now as I used to, but it's really my main form of exercise, which goes to show how much exercise I've been getting since I've been streaming every day, which is not a lot. So yeah,
What else do you do? Do you play music too, right?
I do
You got
play
the
music as well.
instrument?
I haven't been super. I'll be honest, I haven't been super dedicated with it lately, but I play vibraphone. I graduated from college as a jazz vibraphonist. And I teach music. I'm like beginning a teaching credential right now to teach music. I teach like drumline at a high school right now. I've taught at like different like after school, private lessons and stuff like that for drums, guitar, bass, various wind instruments like clarinet. But I'm trying to learn more of them at a cursory level just so I can help people. I really feel like I can like one-on-one, like with you, like I feel like I can have a good rapport with people. So I think especially when it comes to something creative like music, I think it's easy to help people if you just have an open heart like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as for like the music I make, I've been sort of kind of like on and off with my levels of like creative interest with like the things I'm making. I recently made well, not recently, but like a few weeks ago I made a cover of like High Caves for Spyro, and that got like a lot of like positive reception, and so that was really cool. And I've been making like little tiny tracks that I'll like sneak into videos here and there. But I don't know. I am not like on the level of like putting out creative material musically that maybe I want to be, or maybe that like I feel like is becoming of someone who fancies themselves a music creator or producer or something like that. So I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress, is my point. I'm a work in progress. Occasionally I'm playing vibes here. Occasionally I'm playing drums there. I'm trying to make music, but really I've been spending so much of my time speedrunning that it ends up taking up most of my day, and I just end up kicking it and like fucking having a beer afterwards and eating food and calling it a night. So that's just kind of like where my life has been for the past like year or two at least.
Right. All three of those things really are they're things that you pour time and time and time and energy into, and it's a long grind, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not something that like skateboarding is failing the kickflip 100 times and making it once,
Oh yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. Like there's so much time investment that goes into any one of those things in order to get something out of it that you're proud of. You know what I'm saying? Like you said with skateboarding, you have to fall like hundreds of times before you land something once. You have to eat shit like all the time. I love that you said you ate shit earlier because I love that because it's like that's what I embrace with skating is I love eating shit. You have to love eating shit to skateboard, and you have to
Oh
love
yeah.
throwing runs to speedrun. Like I'm not even kidding you. Like it's the same sort of mentality that's required.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking like it has to be about the pursuit at
Yeah,
that point, right?
yeah,
If it's not about if it's not for the thrill that you're gonna hit this one trick one time, or if you're not going to get this run, this golden run, this perfect run that'll never happen, that's the pursuit. That's the interesting thing. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't have, right? That's the thing that separates first place on a speedrun leaderboard versus like 20th in like a really competitive game is like, and I'm the person that's 20th. I don't have the heart to run and put my head down and hit the wall 100 times to save a second, right? But I think it's so interesting to find the people that do, because I really find them interesting. It's a quality that I lack.
No, and I don't even consider it like a character flaw if you choose not to like, dedicate as much time to a speed run as the first, place or whatever. I don't even think that's a character flaw because you're just honest with yourself and the level of commitment you're willing to put forth,
Right.
And it's worse if you try to push yourself and you don't want it for the right reasons. Like if you just want first place or you just want to be like famous or some stupid Twitch famous, if you just want those things, those are like really shallow reasons to like explore speedrunning, I think.
Do you think anyone that has ever set out to become Twitch famous as their stated goal has ever actually become Twitch famous?
Probably not. Probably none of them. But I will say this. I think many of us who do stream on Twitch want some level of recognition for our work, for our dedication to the craft and to being there. And like you said, trying to be entertaining and trying to be good at games, we do want to be recognized for that as well. So maybe if we're not outwardly like, oh, I want to be famous, it's like you do want recognition. We got to be honest about that as well.
100%. I think this is something that I think about, right? When back in like old broadcast television days, there was 3 channels, right? You had ABC, NBC, and CBS. So whatever was on those 3 channels, they had a huge share of the audience. It was like in the tens of millions of people because there was 3 things to watch. That was it. There wasn't channel number 4 or 5. There wasn't PBS. When you started, you had 3 channels. Then you get more channels, and that dilutes the pool, right? And so as you like go forward and forward in time, and now people can watch whatever they want, it's not in the scale of tens of millions of people. But I think one of the biggest testaments of someone's like actual like Twitch skills is like, can you actually, not if you can have 1,000 people watching you, but can you get the same 100 people to watch you every day?
Yeah.
That is, you have a percentage share of the audience. It's a small share, but you're carving something out for yourself, and they would rather watch you than watch anything else in the world, right? At that moment, they're watching what you're doing, which is most of the time not completing a run of Spyro.
Yeah.
And that product that you're putting forward is more entertaining than the entire wealth of digitized media at the instant click of their fingertips. Right? They have every movie and TV show ever made uploaded online for like $10 a month. And they're watching you. And they're paying to watch you. You know what I mean? That's like such an interesting like thing for me. And I want to hear from you about how long things took for you to for everything to kind of click, where like the partnership came and like the big Twitch numbers came, and when all of that success kind of happened for you.
That all happened in late 2020. Well, I'll say the big numbers like Twitch partnership. Let me give you a kind of late 2019, early 2020 plot synopsis. I had maybe about 1,000 followers on Twitch. Maybe like 40 to 60 regular viewers on average. I was on the cusp of partner for a very long time, probably all of 2019, maybe even 2018 and 2020, a lot of that as well. And then in late 2020, I started to actually get close to world record after, as you mentioned, years of grinding at this game and streaming and having like a meager, small audience, which I'm still very happy about. If I still just had like a few, a couple dozen viewers and like, no partnership, I'd still be streaming, like that's an important point that you made about like not having a huge following, like even 40 viewers was a lot to me. Like for many years, I streamed for like 5 to 10 viewers and less, like to nobody, literally. And so it's, you do it you're sitting there and you're playing and you're like, why am I even bothering streaming this? Well, it's like you're putting your emotional self out there, and you can always go back and retrieve that later, and you can always go back and like see yourself. So you don't do it because there's any community at all, really. And then once one forms, then you become so much more attached to the pursuit of streaming, even if it's as small as like a 10 viewer stream or 20, 30, 40, doesn't matter. But I was on the cusp of partner for a very long time, and in late 2020, I started to get close to world record, and people from the PlayStation speedrunning community just started to get to know me a little bit. I was always like in people's chats, but now like I was starting to get on the recommended feed. That was introduced around that time. Was like the recommended feed, and so I started to show up on that. People started to get to know me a little bit, and when I got really close to record, it was many months of grinding while I was close. And you'll see a lot of streamers like that too, where they're like close to world record, and they'll be like maybe in your Twitch recommended, but they don't quite have it yet, and they have like a really small stream or something. Those are the best speedrun streams to watch, in my humble opinion, because like
100%.
Yeah, those are the people who are really dedicated, you know what I mean? And they care about it, for the love of the craft and, that all that jazz. But anyways, in late 2020, I ended up getting the Spyro 120% world record. And after that point, the Rixer made a video about me. And of course, I'm like blown away that I fucking got this record. A ton of people are like hyping, and I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. And then later throughout the following year, I didn't stop streaming. I kept grinding. I moved right over to any% and started grinding for the any% world record, which I think caught a lot of people by surprise, maybe, that it was like, whoa, this guy who's played 120% for like 7 years, like is just moving on to the next category. But I did. And at first people are like, okay, like this guy's going to like get the any% record now. Like, is this going to be another 7 years, right? But no, 2 months later, I got it, like literally last week I fucking got it. So fuck you to all the doubters out there. So no one, if you doubt yourself that you can do something like that, you are your own biggest doubter. But that's a whole nother thing right there. To go back to your question, to stay on topic here about like Twitch partnership and stuff like that, the Rixer made a really big video about me that got like 300,000 views or something. That was literally a documentary. You know how it's called speed docs? He literally made a speed doc about me. Like, it's so fucking sick. It's so sick. And so I was just blown away by that, and honored and humbled that Ricky thought that not only my pursuit in Spyro was cool, but like you're saying, like who I am as a person is cool. That I don't just play Spyro, or that I'm like a person with feelings, that I talk on a mic, and that maybe that's relatable to you or something. And so that is like huge to me, because I've spent, I don't know, you guys, you know that that's huge to me, So
yeah, absolutely,
that's it,
100%.
And that's when I got Twitch partner, and that's when I got all that. And I'm not like famous or anything. Just because the viewer count is like above 200, that doesn't mean that my chat is like going a million miles per hour or anything.
Right.
It's just, it's still a small community, I would say, overall, just the vibe of it, right? So I don't know. That's just my thoughts on getting famous on Twitch or whatever. I don't feel famous. I'll tell you that much.
I'm really happy, because at least you being a partner means that you get the benefit of like the full marketing power of Twitch, like it's still a big pool, but the amount of partnered streamers is smaller, and so you kind of get like more of the resources. And I'm happy that that's the case, because I want to see your stream grow, and I want to see you have that success, because I think you deserve it. One of the things that you mentioned earlier that I want to go back to, because I think it's really interesting, and you said the phenomenon of streaming to nobody. And that is something I tell people, because, I mean, I stream, and I always stream like to 10 or 12 people, right? My friends. So I'm never alone. But when I first started, and I didn't have that group, it was streaming to nobody. And when we first started making speed docs, it was making content that nobody saw. And that is a really hard thing that turns a lot of people off right away. Like, the idea of, like, you have to do this by yourself. You have to make an entertaining stream when nobody's there, on the off chance that someone might show up. And then in whatever split second they click on you, it has to be interesting enough that they'll come back.
But can I cut you off for a sec?
No, please cut me off.
I think like right there, you kind of like hit the nail on the head, because the problem I think that people fuck up in their head is that they think I need to be entertaining. That's like the number one thing I think people psych themselves out with when it comes to streaming is like, fuck, I got to be like an entertaining, entertainer dude that's always talking about the game or what's happening or what's going on in my life and blah, blah, blah. And be like a fucking chatterbox 24/7. If there's like one person even there or 100 people or whoever, how many people, you don't have to be entertaining for anybody. And I know me personally, I watch a Twitch stream because I'm interested in the person, who they are, and I'm interested in the game they're playing. Like those two things, the person and the game. And the factor of like maybe they're talking about something or they're quiet, for example. I'm really into speedrunning. I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this are into speedrunning. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't give a fuck if they're a chatterbox or not. Like I care that they're like in the right mindset, even if you're quiet, you say a lot with how you're playing and like how you even respond quietly to a video game. Like even
Right.
just something like you fuck up a trick and you're like, and that's it, right? And that says a shit ton to I don't know, as a viewer, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
oh fuck, what's going on with this guy? And I'll get a lot of like almost like psychoanalysis in my chat sometimes, like, oh, what's up, Dayo? You seem off today. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, damn, I thought I was playing it cool here, but man, maybe they're right, maybe I am freaking out, And so it's just like you don't have to be a fucking entertainer is the point. You just got to be yourself and you got to believe in what you're doing. And
That's
I
it.
believe that speedrunning is fucking dope. And I believe that like whether anybody's watching or not, speedrunning is dope. So that's just it. I mean, maybe it's harder if you're a casual streamer and you really rely on chat interaction and stuff like that. I get it. But if you're speedrunning on Twitch, you don't need chat interaction. I'm not even kidding you. You can just fucking play the game and go for it. And that's the ultimate epitome of like streaming for nobody. I mean, you're just doing it for yourself and your own journey. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's 100% more valuable to be authentic because then you don't have to worry about, oh, well, I've been putting on an act this whole time. How do I replicate it? Right?
Yeah.
People respond to the authenticity of it. There was a study I had read, or I forget the context of how it came up, but it was about how children respond to shows geared towards children. And, there's that, like, trope of, like, oh, what door is it behind? Is it this door? And it's like, no, it's the next door. It's like, is it the third one? No, it's the previous door. Kids hate being talked down to.
Yeah,
And so
patronized.
they don't
Yep.
like being patronized. They don't like it when adults talk to them differently than they do other people. And so they respond more to adult like shows, even though they don't understand, because they understand, hey, we're not talking down to you. And I think that's a big part of success. It's like when people are just themselves and they're just like, hey, we're having this experience together. Like the journey is I'm playing Spyro and I've been playing it for years, and you're part of the journey because you're here watching me not
Yep.
get it.
Yep. Like if you're watching my stream, you're a part of a very deeply personal journey for me where I've literally given up things like what you were talking about earlier, things like skating, things like music, things like a social life, amidst this crazy COVID, stay at home world. And, I've devoted my life to this one thing and it's all I care about. And to see someone come into my chat and be like, wow, I saw you on the Ricky video, or hey, congrats on world record, or hey, how are you doing today? Just anything. If you say anything to me in my stream, that means a lot because you're like a part of my journey in that way, and you can have a positive effect on my day. It could be sometimes maybe even a little negative, but either or, like just you being there is just like the hugest thing to me. And that's what streaming's all about right there, is like you get something out of the connection of someone being there, and
Right.
caring about your journey, and that's just fucking crazy.
I've never felt more like the streamer cared that I was there than just hanging out in your chat. Like,
Thanks, man.
sometimes you say, like, people are like, oh, hey, man, how you doing? And then they move on and they never read another message of yours again. Right? Or they're like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, what's going on, CJ? Oh, yeah, that's Speed Docs. Ha ha ha. I'm like, man, I don't want to talk about Speed Docs all the fucking time. Sometimes I'm
Yeah.
like, hey,
Yeah, and I'm guilty
talk
of
to me
it
about
too.
this speed run. No, but I
Yeah.
think you're so much better about it.
Yeah, well, I know where you're coming from too, is the other thing. And like if you're talking to a fellow creator, they know not to like to be like, "Hey, when's the next thing, big thing you're doing?" But I can't help it sometimes. Like there was someone in my chat earlier who did a 40-hour Mario speedrun, a Mario Party speedrun, 40-hour speedrun. And I was like, yeah, and I was like, holy shit, when are you gonna do the next Mario Party thing? But I'm sure in their head, just like you're saying, they're probably thinking like, oh man, all this guy cares about is my Mario Party, you know what I mean? Like shit, but it's hard. It's hard. Like I get that way when people come at me too sometimes. Like, hey, when are you gonna go back to 120%? You know, so or just like an innocuous question like that. Oh, why don't you do this strat instead? Why don't you do the other version of Coveless? And I'll get all like butthurt about. I'll be like, well, dude, like it's my fucking stream and it's what I want to do and yada yada yada. Why is everyone got to be a little fucking bitch? You know, like relax. You know, it's hard not to take everything like I think really personally when you're interacting with people like on stream, you know, or you're interacting with a streamer. It's hard not for them to take things personally. I think the more you can take things, the less you take things personally on stream as a streamer, the better it's going to serve you in your ability to like to have longevity on Twitch to not get offended at every little thing you see in chat and stuff like that. I think that's a really important skill to develop.
And this too, it's kind of like it's sort of like, well, this is the trade-off to being your authentic self on Twitch. And I'm wondering if you've experienced this. You're putting more of your personal self out there. You know?
Oh yeah.
Even if you're not like doing it like intentionally, it's like you're kind of it's a very personal thing when you're like really into it and you're having a moment. And I mean, I've had it where, you know, it's just like, oh, like I'm like being myself right now. In any little bump in the road, I feel it. You know, I'm like, man, like this guy came in, he was a fucking dick today. I don't even know this dude. He's never gonna come back, but he just like totally was like just ruined it for me. You know, kind of threw off my whole vibe and everything. So, or like, I'm wondering if you've had that feeling.
Oh, dude, of course. Yeah, of course I've had that feeling. I see people on Twitter all the time complaining like, man, this one guy did something like said this in chat today, or they said this is fucked up. Like, fuck this guy. And everyone like commenting like, yeah, fuck that guy or whatever. And like, yeah, like when you stream, there's gonna be like one or two people that maybe they're not even like they don't do anything bannable per se, but they say certain things that are like that like kind of maybe put you off consistently, and it's just like fuck, you know, I don't want to ban this person, but at the same time, like I need to learn to deal with whatever this person's saying, you know. You come to those conclusions sometimes as a streamer. Some streamers just choose to ban whoever the fuck bothers them and just live in an echo chamber. And I don't personally believe that that's a healthy
I hate
thing.
that. Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't think that's a healthy thing at all. I try to welcome as many people into my chat as possible, even if they're fucking bigots. I'm not even kidding you. Even if I had someone come into my chat the other day and say, God, what is it? So he was talking about some like black pilled thing. Oh, he was an incel. That's what it was. He said, oh, you know, women are this, women are stupid, women are that, just shit like along those lines. And I'm like, bro, like really, like if you really believe that, like then bro, why are you telling me? Why do you feel the need to tell me that? Like who fucking cares, right? And you know, I didn't get mad at the dude or anything. I didn't let it like sour my stream. Everyone in chat was like pissed at this guy. And I was like, dude, hey, it's all good, man. Like whatever. You're like listen to yourself right now. You sound crazy. And then just like, you know, we talk about it, be honest, whatever, it's fine, but don't let it get to you as a streamer. And if it really is getting to you to that level and it's like pissing you off and then dude, if you need to ban them, that's fine too. Whoever you need to ban, you need to ban as a streamer, and that's fine too. But what you can't do is let fucking random strangers on the internet in a chat room like saying some crazy maniacal shit that you don't agree with piss you off. You can't let that piss you off. That's your fault if you let that piss you off, in my opinion. But yeah, people will say some fucked up shit in your chat room sometimes, and you don't have to stand up for that. You can ban that, you know. But I try to be as open-minded to, you know, like to people saying shit, and just at least to have a conversation before I ban someone. And you know, if I end up saying some shit like "fuck you," you know, you're a fucking crazy dumbass bitch, boom, ban, whatever. Like, who cares, you know? Why you got to let that ruin your stream? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's hard not to. It's hard not to when you stream a lot. So that's just one thing that's one of the trials and tribulations of streaming, is dealing with crazy people on the internet. And some people deal with that worse than others. I don't deal with it that bad. Like you said, I have a really great community. Everyone who's in my chat is like loving and like wholesome and a little lewd here and there. You know what I mean? They're a reflection of myself, dude. Your chat room is a reflection of yourself. It's fucking insane.
Yes, 100% that. Your chat, like some people will be like, oh, it's not like I want to hear all the time. XQC is not bad. It's his chat. I'm like, dude, it's his chat. If he wanted to clean it up, the dude could. He doesn't have to roll like that toxic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like there are like it's like your chat is a reflection of you. If you are an incel, like that's who shows up to your chat. That's who shows up to your party. Right? Not that was a bad example because we just talked about how that dude was,
no,
like,
I mean, but he was like a 1 in a million like person, right?
Oh, yeah,
so he's not like the regular on my stream. So to your point,
Yeah. And so like I have a word for them. I call them donuts. I'm like, because what I really want to call you, I'm gonna get fucking banned for calling you. So I'm gonna call you a fucking donut. You're a piece of fried dough with frosting on it.
Delicious.
And you're just in here, man, and you're just like a whole bunch of calories. And you're like fucking
empty calories, talking all sorts of pointless shit.
Yeah, they don't even believe it. I had a guy, I had a movie club for a long time, and this dude was a hot take artist, and it used to drive me insane. I'm not going to say his name, but he used to drive me insane because he would have a collection of opinions that no reasonable human being could possibly have. And so I came to the conclusion he didn't actually believe any of these things, and he didn't. He's
trolling.
He would just say them because he knew it would
that's
piss
how
me
it
off.
is. And that's hilarious. He got you, bro.
He did. He got me. But it was with stuff like, like there's a movie we watched. We watched 12 Years a Slave. There's a scene where the guy is like hanging by a rope from his neck, and he's like, "Hey, you shouldn't have run away." I'm like, "Are you fucking serious right now, bro?"
Yeah, I know. Like he knows that's gonna piss you off, so he says like some stupid shit, and then it's like, yeah. But in your mind, you're thinking in your head like, man, does he really even believe this? And then at that point, that's so much mental effort, so many mental gymnastics on your part that it's like, oh, this person's fucked up, and I don't agree. But then it's like, wow, are they even like listening to what they're saying? And then by the time you've thought all that, they've already moved on to the next like, oh, I wonder what's for dinner thought. So think about that difference right there, right? Don't waste your energy on people that don't deserve it, Like,
it's a very valuable
lesson.
Simple. Because he also said that one of his favorite movie scenes was the fart cup scene from fucking Love Guru. It's not a scene I recommend people watch, but, it happened. So, it's just awful. It's just like, you're awful, and everything that you do is awful. Not you. This person. Everything that this person does is awful, and I don't want you to be I don't want you to be in the same room as you. Like, you make me feel like I need a shower. Go away. Ugh.
Yep. I'm not really like that with a lot of people. Even if I do feel that people have like certain, it's like, oh, okay, this guy again, doing this, doing the XYZ thing. It's like, fuck. Like, I'm trying to at least have a conversation. I'm not trying to like say like, all right, I block you on Twitter. I block you here. I block my brain out all the time. It's like, let me hear you. And then it's like, let me decide if you're stupid. And then if I decide you're stupid and you're just trolling or whatever, or a bigot or any of those things, then it's like, all right, move on, move on, and that doesn't always even require you banning the person in your chat. Like that's another thing. Mm-hmm. So that's just a words of wisdom from a fellow streamer.
I will say, that I'm not heavy on the block button either. I
don't ban a lot of people. Like,
no, me either.
Yeah.
My philosophy is, if you're gonna say wild shit to me, then you're okay for me to say wild shit back to you. Like, where the fuck do you get off because you missed your bus stop, bro?
Don't be afraid to say fuck you to someone in
your
chat.
Hell no.
I think a lot of streamers are afraid to say fuck you to people in their chat. Like, I'm not, even friends, even people that I like, I'll be like, they'll say something, I'll be like, yeah, well, I think this, but you know what? Fuck you. Like, I don't care. Like, whatever. I don't got to answer to you. And then I'll keep playing, like I'll have moments like that too. Cause it's like, I'm realizing that I'm letting something, even if it's of a friend, even if it's like someone I respect and admire saying something that like makes me overthink or makes me go into some bad vibe. It's like, never mind. Fuck you. Fuck it. Whatever, and not even at them, but just like, it just depends on the context. I mean, at that point, but you know what I mean? Like, just don't be afraid. Don't be like this fucking like timid, like, oh, I got to please everyone. I got to be a good entertainer. Cause that's like, you're going to burn out on a mentality that's not wholly yourself. That's whatever you're really thinking in a fucking given moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's more valuable for people to know where you actually stand. Like,
Mhm.
oh, I said this and CJ told me to go fuck myself. Okay, that's the line, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know that's where I stand with him if I come at him with, oh, like, I don't know, uh, transphobia is cool. He's gonna
Mhm.
tell me to go eat fucking shit because I'm a
Yeah.
stupid idiot,
That shit's
right?
trash. Yeah.
Right. It's like, get the stupid takes out of here. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that we covered that. I want to talk to you about the Ricky video. I want to talk about it a little
Yes.
more because I know Ricky. I've done 3 videos with Ricky, and Ricky is a very interesting person, and he makes very interesting content, and I think he has an interesting eye for videos. And he told me, and the reason that I knew that your video was coming out, was because he and I were working on a Jack and Daxter video, and his video came out about a month before mine. And so we shared notes like, okay, this is what I'm working on. And then he said, okay, this is what I'm working
Yeah.
on. And he told me that the next video he was working on was about you. And I was like, that's pretty interesting. And I know that he had kind of he did one on Outrageous Josh. And I love Josh. One of the most wholesome people I've met in speedrunning, hopefully and truthfully. And I was like, oh, I'm really interested to see the video that gets made about you. And I watched it, and it was a really, really interesting insight into what I think is a really, like, for as far as like a subject of a video goes, I think that Ricky got the most out of the subject matter. Like, I think it's a really decent job of like what it sets out to do. And it sets out to really tell a broader story with you as its main character. And it makes it sort of in a roundabout way, because it's not the Dayoman story, right? It's not a Lifetime movie. But it is a story about you because it's a story about something that ends in your effort. And he really builds you as a character, and he really, really sets you up as a human being outside of speedrunning, which is something that almost no other speedrun content creators do. And for
Yeah.
you, it really worked. And so I've kind of bloviated about it a little bit. I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, on that topic, yeah, I agree. Ricky made that video really focused like on not just me as a Spyro player or my piece in the world record history puzzle, but more just about my story. In fact, he actually changed the title of that video recently to, I believe it was like Dayoman's story or something like that. Rather than the Spyro record got broken, it was like a more of a title like, hey, this is like the story of this guy. And yeah, you're right. Other speedrun content creators aren't doing that right now. They're not so concerned with the story of the players. When it's something positive, when it's something negative, like, oh, Dream cheated or something like that, then it's like, oh, okay, well, look at this fucking asshole. Then you want to know about the players, right? But you don't tend to want to know about the players when it's like a great accomplishment. You know, it's like there's a reason why we're all so interested in this pursuit of speedrunning and getting a good time in a game that you remember fondly, you know, from a different day, or a game that you think has sick ass mechanics or whatever. There are some true like triumphs stories in there that go beyond just, you know, okay, you know, XYZ got this time, then blah 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 beat their time, you know, and then and then they got serious. And it's all about the times, right? Like there's still some of that in my story. And that, honestly, can I just say that was that's probably my most favorite part of the Ricky videos, when he did a montage of me going for the record with like that one song behind it that was like,
Yes, yes,
that
yes.
was like my favorite part right there, because that is what speedrun content or speedrun record content is nowadays. Is it's like this like epic, like, you know, summoning salt kind of style thing where, you know, you're just like more and more like badass achievements, but there's a story, there's a person there. And so when you focus a little bit more on the person and make the story a little bit more personal, I think that's a cool angle that Ricky took on it. And you're right, it works for me because, I have a story, like, and every speedrunner has a story. Maybe it's not like this epic, like, oh, 7 year grind for one game, always streamed on Twitch. Maybe it's not that for you, but there's something like that for you. I'm sure if you're watching this, you probably play games or you try to do something, right? So, and for many speedrunners, there's a story there. So
Yeah,
I'm really glad that Ricky tapped into that. I'm really honored by that.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that it's as good of a video as it is, because if it wasn't, it wouldn't do either of you it would be a disservice to both of you, because Ricky is still getting better as a content creator. Like, he still is. Like, that's not a knock, by the way. If there's someone listening that's like, oh man, CJ dogged Ricky.
No, not
Like,
even.
Ricky is
I agree.
getting
I think
better
he's
and better.
yeah, he's already a really great YouTube video content man, creator, video editor dude. And now he's like getting even better and more involved with videos. And so yeah, like I'm honored to be on like the cusp of that progression for him to be like one bookmark in that history. That's like really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, because he has a really huge following as well. But besides that, it's like, man, the amount of people that came into that have come into my stream in the last like month was like 10 times more than I expected, even from a video blowing up like Ricky's did. 300,000 views, like let's be in the grand scheme of like speedrunning videos and things like that. Carl Jobs, millions of views per video. It's not really like that fucking crazy to where people are going to be coming in every day and saying like, oh, I heard about you in blah 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 video. But that's what's happening to me. It's like I'm getting people coming in every day that are like, hey, like I heard about you in the Ricky video, and I think that just like speaks to the quality of his content, to the quality of the video that he made about me, and to the accuracy and the intriguingness of how he presented my story, which I feel is totally accurate and awesome. And I'm
Yeah,
honored.
yeah, really. I agree. I think like I said, I think he's getting better and better, and like the Ricky videos that we're watching now, we're gonna look back in 2 years and be like, wow, this is like, if he keeps going the way that he's going, he's gonna get really, really damn good.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
Also, it's weird because Ricky is at both times a young man and an old boy, right? Because Ricky started when he was like 15.
I
This
love
is always the
that.
trippy part, right?
Yeah.
Like, when did you start speedrunning?
It's funny. Me and Ricky actually both knew a lot of the same players. Ricky was he told me this story about an old Skype group of like Spyro and Crash and Jack and other players that used to talk a bunch and without dropping any names or anything. It's like crazy. It's like crazy to me. It's like I started my speed journey around that same time, and our paths, even though we both have run and been a part of PlayStation speedrunning for a long time, our paths never crossed until like 2020, 2019, or yeah, 2020-ish. So
Right.
so he was blown. When some of the first conversations we had, he was really blown away at that fact alone, and uh yeah, he's awesome. But yeah, to your point about him being like a young man and an old boy, like I totally hear what you're saying. Yeah, he was around back when things were like we're just getting started with speedrunning. Speedrunning is a very new like I don't know, it's like a relatively new thing in the world, if you consider like I don't know, like sports or something. There's like centuries of history there, but like with speedrunning, it's like that's only been around since like the, like mid 2000s, or really if you consider Twitch streaming like 2012, 2013.
Yeah,
And
and
so
it's in
it's
its
a new
present
thing.
form. Yeah,
It's a new
definitely a
thing.
new
So to
thing.
call someone an old boy, like in this context, it's referring to like that era, right? Of like 2012, 2013. And that's not very old. Let's be honest. That's 8 years, sure. But I mean, like, that like it's not that long of a history. So yeah, I think we're all young boys in that respect. I think we all have we're all kind of chipping away at like what we think speedrun content is and what we think like people who are interested in speedrunning would like. And yeah, and as time goes on, that will become gradually more fleshed out. And I think it's beautiful to be on the cusp of a really awesome hobby like that. I think that's new, relatively new.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, because of it's like where it is, and it's still kind of like you said, to your point, it's a new hobby.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you're in high school and you're 15, and your girlfriend is like 18, right? And you're doing that swag move where you're dating the upperclassmen. It's like, oh, 3 years is an eternity, right? Because 3 years is like,
Yeah.
based on like how young you both are, 3 years is a significant percentage of your life. But then when you're older, it's like, okay, I'm 31 and she's 34. We're the same fucking age, right? Like, it doesn't matter anymore. So, like, as we get further and further away from this period in time, the difference between the people that started in 2012 versus the people that started in, like, 2017 becomes less and less significant. But I do have a Ricky story that I'm going to tell because it's really funny.
Go for it.
And it makes me laugh every time that I hear it. It's one of my favorite stories that he ever told me. We were doing the Jack and Daxter video for Speed Docs, and there's a guy named Zeppelins, and he's from Australia, and he's speedrunning Jack and Daxter. And Ricky is 15, right? And so Ricky, you know, I think the iconic Ricky look is like the long black hair and the jacket, you know, and he's like, you know, he's like this little thin guy, right? But he's also like listening to Nas and shit, right? Like crazy. And fucking Zeppelins, who is like, you know, this crazy Aussie who's playing Jack and Daxter, stops in the middle of a stream one day to be like, "Oh, don't worry, Ricky, you're gonna grow up to be a handsome young man." I was like, God damn. I think about that all the time. It's like, oh yeah, you're a handsome young boy, you're gonna grow up to be a handsome young man. I'm and then
He's a handsome young man. I'll say, Ricky, if you're listening right now, you're a handsome young man.
Zeppelins was pathetic, dude.
Man. Not as handsome as me, though.
Oh, dude, you look like John Lennon.
You know how much I get that? I get that all the fucking time. I'm like,
well, it's because you're wearing his fucking glasses.
No, just because my glasses are circular doesn't mean they're John Lennon glasses. Fuck. God damn it. You think John Lennon has a monopoly on circular glasses? That should be Harry Potter if we're going to go there about it.
Bro, I'm just fucking throwing this out there for you. I'm throwing this out there for you. Did you wake up this morning and were like, imagine if there was no...
Dude, you know, I have a fucking poster of the lyrics to that song in my house. Imagine all the people. Yeah, whatever, dude. Yeah, I don't look like John Lennon. I have curly hair. He had straight hair. He's British. I'm cool.
You are cool. I'm not saying you're not cool. Don't get it twisted.
I'm from the Congo Democratic Republic, as everyone who visits my Speedrun.com profile knows. Okay?
I love people that put weird countries as their country of origin.
Yeah, it's a cool flag, dude. It's a cool flag. It's like blue and shit. It's got like a red stripe. I like it.
I was going to say,
blue.
As much as you vaguely resemble one of the Beatles, and it's obviously George Harrison, apparently, because you don't want to be called John Lennon.
Yeah.
You definitely
it's
don't
Paul Blartney. Paul Blart. That's
Stop.
the Beatle.
Stop now. We're straying ttoo far from God's light. You definitely do not pop off like John Lennon. You go from being, oh yeah, like this is what we're doing here. Like, oh hey, nice to see you.
Normal speedrunner, yeah.
And then you're like, where are my fucking chuggers at? Shout out to anyone that's ever loved someone, man. This one's for you. And you're fucking screaming, you're calling everyone a bitch, and I'm like, what the fuck? This man just took. You're like if John Lennon took ketamine when you pop off sometimes, man. Like, what is that switch for you?
Oh
right?
My God. Well, dude, when you're on a good run, it's like there's nothing like it. It's like drugs, dude. I'm not even kidding you. It's like getting a good speed run is like the adrenaline. Once you start getting 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you know, plus into a really good pace, your green splits, you're like, all right, this is a nice pace and shit. You like start to get like kind of nerves and some adrenaline shooting through your body. And then if you finally actually get a really good PB and you finish that last hitter, you do some crazy end game trick or whatever, and it's just like, ooh, let's go, come on. And it just builds up. That sort of like energy builds up over the course of a run. That's part of the fucking amazing euphoria of speedrunning that not a lot of people get to experience who just run casually, but maybe even then, like if you're just get a PB, it's like that feels good. And then when you really get a good run, you know, you're always thinking as a speedrunner, like, oh, you know, this run's trash, right? What about when you're actually on a good pace? Like that feeling is like no other. Even if you've made a couple mistakes here or there, like you're on a good pace, there's no feeling like that. And that shit just gets me pumped the fuck up. And I chase that feeling big time. And so, yeah, that's why I fucking pop off at the end of like sick ass runs, because I know it's sick. It's like, I got world record. It's like, what the fuck? Like, let's go. Like, how can I not like scream at the top of my lungs? It's like, it's a culmination of like months and hours and years of hard work. You never thought it was even going to happen. You didn't think it was even going to happen. You were going to get to that point. You have to accept that it's never going to happen. So when it does finally happen, you're just like, you lose it. You fucking lose like it's the hypest feeling. It's the most natural high ever, you know? It's accomplishment.
I'm really finding a lot of your takes on your mentality to be really interesting. Like, was there a point where you? I mean, I understand like the acceptance of like, okay, this is never going to happen. But was there a point where it felt so far away that you thought of giving up on it?
On speedrunning, like I'd give up on speedrunning at
Yeah.
all. Yeah. You know, when I was like, God, like 2014, 2015, there were definitely a lot of points. I'll put it this way. There were a lot of points where I had to decide whether I was going to put it down or keep going. You know, certain time thresholds. Okay, I got a sub 2 hour 120% run. Like, okay, am I going to keep going? That's the next question. Are you going to keep going? And that's like, well, I'm already this far. I might as well. I've already done a few runs. I already know the route. Let's keep going. And then you get a little better. You know, you're starting to get a little bit more pissed at the game, and you know, you're figuring shit out. And you're like, you know, then you get a sub 150, and that's like, okay, hey, nice. Now that's a good time, I guess, by my standards at that moment. And it's like, well, now those standards have changed. Are we going to keep going? Well, you've already come this far. So that's the sort of thing that I kept fighting, or that I kept that inner mental thing. Um, it was never like, oh fuck, I should just give up. Like, I don't know, because some days it's tough, man. Some days you do want to get. Today, I had a rough day of runs. I'll be honest, you know, and yeah, you want to just stop fucking playing after 5 hours and your run is trash, you know. You want to stop playing, and then you think and then it turns in this thing where it's like, well, it's not about having fun. It's about like accomplishing something, and like you got to put in the work for that, you know. And so it just transcends into all these different levels of emotional fulfillment that I'm sure not everybody gets with speedrunning. Maybe I'm like a unique case in that way where I get a lot of emotional fulfillment from chasing, you know, a fucking PB. Um, from I don't know, like I just feel like it helps me as a human to get a fucking PB in a speed run. Like in order to play at that level, I can't be like, high on drugs, you know, playing Spyro. I can't like wake and bake. I can't like be treating my body like shit. I gotta get a good night's sleep to do that, you know. And some nights I don't get that. Some days I'm not there, you know. And so it's like this pursuit of a better self, you know. And like not everyone gets that with speedrunning. So yeah, I can totally understand why it's like easy to find points where it's like, all right, do I give up? Like, is it time to give up? And only you can answer that. In my case, I never wanted to give up because I fucking love it. But that's it in my case as far as giving up goes.
Absolutely. I'm interested in what your goals are for the future, right? Because you have 120% world record. You have the any as of right now. You have the any percent world record. Like, what's next? Is it more Spyro? Are you gonna like go through like miscellaneous categories? Are you gonna try new games? Are you gonna like become the world's greatest Tony Hawk Pro Skater speedrunner and like marry two weirdly distinct hobbies? Like, what do you have? What kingdoms do you have left to conquer?
For right now, my goal is still big time Spyro 1. So here's the thing. I've worked my whole life to get 2 world records in Spyro 1 in the 2 main categories of that game. Now, at this point, I could totally be justified in pivoting to maybe another game, maybe another series, maybe some miscellaneous categories in Spyro 1, try to get record in those. Um, but I look at my accomplishments, and I look at I look at my PBs in Spyro 1 right now, and I'm like, well, I gotta keep pushing it, dude. Like, if I switch to Crash Bandicoot right now or some shit, like, I gotta start from scratch, man. I gotta and I don't even know if I'm gonna like that, you know, or anything like that. I'm not like over playing Spyro 1, but I see that there's like these minute barriers. No one's ever gotten a 37-minute run of Spyro 1 any percent. I can do that. No one's ever gotten a 1 hour, 20-minute run of 120%. I can do that. And nobody else can really do that right now. And that's what, like, that epicness, that to me, that's just so epic. Like, I don't care how long I've already been doing this, or even if I'm a little burnt out on the game or some shit like that. Like, to me, the epicness of that accomplishment goes way beyond like getting a world record or having, being like the coolest kid in the fucking, leaderboards. At this point, it's not about world record anymore. It's about like, okay, well, I think I can push this game further, so let me do that, because that's way more epic than me like moving on to another game. In my heart, in my eyes, not even. Just to me, I think that's like way sick. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm sticking with Spyro 1. The two main categories, Spyro 1 any percent and 120%. I want to break minute barriers in those. And then I'll consider pivoting to something else.
You have any aspirations for marathons? Like, do you want to be in GDQ when it reopens? Or
Yeah, well, with GDQ is an interesting case because Chris LBC already has done a bunch of Spyro 1, various categories for GDQ multiple times over the years. So I personally don't see them accepting the original Spyro 1. Remember, there's a remaster of that game that's out too. They're showing that a lot of love as well. There's I don't know, like in general, PlayStation runs are not like super high priority on the GDQ on the GDQ docket, which is fine. It is what it
that's
is.
100% true. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not here to like even like be mad about that. To me, like I don't really care about getting a run into GDQ at some point. To me, that's not like imperative to my journey is having a certain marathon run or being an ESA or GDQ or any of these other marathons. I like marathons and I play in marathons. I I yeah, I play in small marathons like here and there, they're a fun thing to do for charity and this and that, but I don't really take them that seriously beyond that. I know some speedrunners take GDQ very seriously, like, oh well, I played in GDQ, or oh this run's in GDQ, or oh my run didn't get accepted for GDQ, so fucking dude, rip, I'm so bummed out about that. It's like that shit doesn't really, in the grand scheme of things, that shit does not really matter to me. But I do think that speedrun marathons are really cool, and I really hope to be a part of more of them in the future.
Well, that's good. I think one of the really interesting things about sort of the time that we live in is that there's a lot of remakes of older games, right? And it's not going to stop. Like, it's going to be a perpetual thing that goes on for nigh infinitum, right? But, like, it's interesting. Like, you have, in your lifetime, a remake of Spyro 1. What are your thoughts on the Reignited? I'm guessing, and I could be wrong, that you played them casually.
Yeah, I did.
What did you think about them?
I think they're great games overall. I think Toys for Bob like did as much justice as they could have to the original series. Before I get into any critiques, I just want to say, just overall, like if you're a casual, like nostalgic Spyro fan, or even Crash, there's the Insane trilogy. There's Nitro Fueled for the Crash Team Racing fans. There's remakes of all those original PlayStation games, and like you said, we live in an era of remakes, so you can revisit any of these games with the remade version. The Spyro one, Spyro Reignited trilogy is awesome if you want to revisit those games and check them out. Now, with that said, they're not the same as the original games. Okay, so don't think that they're a replacement for the original. They're not. They're just different. They're just not the same thing at all. And so if you like the Reignited one, for example, and like, hey, check out the original, and hey, maybe you might not like the original, or vice versa, right? So I think to any casual listener of this documentary, like, don't think that a remade version of a game is like anything close to the original 99% of the time. It's the same with Spyro 1. It's the same environments, and like same layout of stuff. Not even the same environments though. It's entirely different environment design. The characters are completely different. The load times, the mechanics. In Spyro 1, let's talk about just slightly. I'm just going to talk about the mechanics. In Spyro 1, the original, in order to turn coming out of a charge, you have to turn your joystick. You have to crank it ever so slightly and gradually to the side so as not to incur a turnaround animation, which is slow. And we call that quick turning. So you have this kind of like very careful, delicate like turning motion with your joystick or with your D-pad. But in Reignited Trilogy, you could just point in a direction and go that way. So that's just one example of very many of like how just the core mechanics and physics engines are just different. So it's just a different game. Now, as far as its effect on me as a Spyro 1 speedrunner, like so again, I don't play Reignited. I'm not like an expert in that game. It's just different than Spyro 1. If you're interested in Reignited speedruns, don't follow me because that's not me. But there are plenty of people who are doing that, and they're fucking cool. So check them out. Like Bobby Bill, Green Soul, Randy Bobandy. Some of these guys are Zik3. That guy's been really popping off lately on Twitch. So these guys are all Reignited players, and they go ham in those games. So yeah, big. And I'm sure they wouldn't do that if they weren't good games, right? So those are my general thoughts. Those are my general thoughts on Reignited without getting too down the rabbit hole there.
Right. Well, I think that one of the things.
Oh, also, fuck the load times in Reignited. The load times in Reignited are trash. They're like 3 times, 4 times the original game. Unacceptable. I don't care how good the fucking graphics are. You're not allowed to have load times that are twice, 3 times as long as the original on an SSD, fucking whatever, like crazy computer PC setup. That's unacceptable in my book. So yeah, sorry, I had to say that.
No, you're fine. I was surprised you didn't say that. I was about to move on and be like, damn, my man didn't even care about the load times.
The load times are unacceptable. They ruin the experience for me. Straight up. But that doesn't make them bad games. I'm just saying they ruin the experience for me as an original game fan.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that one of the things that a really good remake should strive to be is I don't think it should be faithful to the experience you remember, but not necessarily be beholden to being a one-to-one copy. And I think that the best remakes, they recapture the feeling that you have when you played it without necessarily like I said, being one-to-one copies. So I think like Spyro Reignited does a good job because it captures the feeling that I had when I played Spyro. But obviously you have played more Spyro than I ever will in my entire life.
Yeah. Casually speaking though, I agree with you. Yeah, I do think they capture the original. Yeah. Did you have any other like casual impressions of Reignited? I'm kind of curious because I don't have that viewpoint, you know.
Right, no, I totally understand. I think that I really didn't play it a lot. I didn't have a PlayStation, so my memories are going to someone else's house to play Spyro and how playing a video game in someone else's house for limited periods of time, broken up by sharing it with other people, like can alter someone's like view on a game. But one of the things that I think about is I get lost I feel like I don't know where to go, but I always felt like, okay, in Spyro, the original game, it's crystal clear where you're supposed to go. You go here, and you go here, and then you go here, and you're always running, but you're always going somewhere. Right? Even if it's like, it almost sometimes felt like the original games were like one continuous line at times. Yeah. And the Reignited one, I'm like, where the hell am I fucking going? I gotta go over here now, and I mean, they may be laid out the exact same, but the way that they're laid out, everything felt like
they're not like leading you in the right direction so much.
Am I insane?
You're not crazy, and you know, I think you touched on something really interesting and unique about the Spyro series as a platform is that its level design is very open. Whether we're talking about the Reignited or original, the level design is very open-ended, and it's not like purely linear. Like you look at a game like Crash Bandicoot. The level design is very linear. You go straight down a path or you go the wrong way, you know?
Oh, yeah. It could not get any more linear.
Yeah, and so Spyro, while being an action-adventure game that does have like a linear progression to it, the level design is very open. It's like, all right, go grab gems. You can grab those gems. You can grab those gems over the other way, and there you go, you know? And so as a collectathon and as a speedrun, it makes it way more interesting to route, in my opinion. Because I just like really open-ended games. Like I'm a big fan of like Elder Scrolls games where you just get to explore this wide open world, this landscape, you know, RPGs like that, Witcher, you know, GTA even, like those games like that plop you into a giant fucking breathing world, you know, that has all sorts of silly like little Easter eggs like hidden throughout it and stuff. And to me, that's one of the coolest things about a game is learning how to navigate an open world like that with your like having the creative freedom to do that on your by your own will, you know. And I think Spyro really touches on that in a really important way for me.
Yeah, I agree. One of my favorite games is Banjo-Kazooie. And one of the reasons I love it is that they're small worlds, so all the interesting things are really condensed. And
no, but they're really open though. They're really they're actually pretty big, a lot of those environments. I remember as a kid playing Banjo-Kazooie, they're like I could barely make it from one end of a cell to another, right?
Right.
And it's just like, what the fuck? And then you go into another loading zone and here's another big ass circus fucking place or like a giant fish or desert fucking whatever. Mario 64, same shit, right? You're just plopped into the fucking castle courtyard. And I think that added a lot of that initial charm from when I was a little kid to like, all right, here I am in this new world. and no one's telling me what the fuck to do. You know what the problem with modern games are is they put you on rails and they tell you what to fucking do. No matter how beautiful it is, they don't give you expression as a player. They don't give you creative freedom to just go where the fuck you want and do things how you want.
Yeah,
yeah.
Absolutely. And the games that do stand out, I loved Red Dead 2 when it came out, and I have wanted to replay Red Dead Redemption 2 ever since it came out. I just bought it yesterday, and I know that game. Like, I know what happens. I know that where the slow points are. I know the missions, and I'm a huge Western fan, so like being in those types of environments has like emotional significance for me. It reminds me of like good memories with my dad. And so exploring that is like riding a bike or, whatever. And it's a massive world where nothing happens the same way twice.
Yep.
So it's a game, it's humongous, but you never feel like it's empty, right? It doesn't feel dead. It feels alive. It feels energetic. And you feel like you could actually encounter stuff and have it be interesting and renewed, and like you didn't see everything that there was to offer.
Yeah, even if you put hundreds of hours into games like that, you always run over the same places over and over, and it's some content does get stale or dead, or you feel it's the same like respawning enemies, all the time. There's still always in games like that, there's still always some stone that you haven't uncovered, or some little silly piece of lore from a quest or something that explains another thing somewhere else in the game or in the series, And there's always something like that in an open world game. That's why I'm such a huge fan of them. But they're really hard to do right. And you touched on something really interesting, I think, about a game feeling dead. And yeah, a lot of open world games, if you put 100 hours into them, 200 hours into them, you can get to a point with them where you feel like, all right, I did the main quest, or I explored all the map that I could and found all the locations, and now what? Now it's dead. And like I felt that way when I completed Spyro for the first time, getting away from the open world thing and just talking more about games in general. When I completed Spyro for the first time, I was like, okay, like sweet, as a kid. And then it's like I did it again when I was like 12, and then I did it again when I was like 14, 15. And then by the time I had all 3 memory card slots filled 120%, I was like, all right, well, either I put this game down forever now, or I speedrun it. And so that's where it like speedrunning was this huge like light bulb in my head. Like, fuck, dude, like you actually can like take a game like as far as your mind's creativeness will allow it, really. I mean, it's really speedrunning is just a human created thing. It's not like something that the developers put into a game. It's just like a creative like thing that a group of people are doing to a game. So
yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I really think about Spyro. I don't know about you would have a much more strong perspective on it than I do. But Spyro never felt dead to me at any point, at any of the times that I've played it or revisited it or tried to play it. Yeah. Right? It didn't feel dead in the way that, like, after I beat Skyrim and did all the stuff, and they're like, "Hello, Jarl." I'm like, dude, I fucking saved
when people
the world.
dude, isn't that the most fucked up feeling? Is you beat a main quest in an Elder Scrolls game, and then when townspeople come up to you and say, "Oh, hello, legendary champion," and you feel empty when they say that. When they say that, that reminds you that the content is over. Isn't that a silly thing? It should have the opposite effect, right?
Right. There was a Mass Effect game where you in the previous game, I don't remember if it was 1 to 2 or 2 to 3. Where you save the fucking galaxy. Like, you save a galaxy. That's bigger than a bread box, friend. Like, that's more than I can, like, comprehend. If we were to compare it in swimming pools, it'd be an infinite amount of swimming pools, right? This character, we saved a galaxy. And then you get on the bridge of this ship and this guy's mouthing off to you, and I'm like, Melvin, what is your fucking major malfunction, bro? Like, how are you enjoying your galaxy? Right? Now I gotta take lip from this dude making minimum wage? Like, right? Like,
or like, what's next? As far as game content goes, like, what's next? Now I gotta do like random redundant Radiant quests or move on to a DLC. And then it just takes you out of the game world. That whole experience of finishing a main quest line in an open world game.
Yeah, like, why does Master Chief have to do fucking fetch quests? Right? Like, that's a bad example because that doesn't happen. But why does Master Chief have to do, like, these stupid little errands? Master Chief has saved the world, like, a dozen times over. how are you enjoying not being literally obliterated by massive purging rings? Because that's all us, big guy. You know, that's what I think. Like, and I don't feel dead in those games either. And they're not, and they're level-based shooters. But then you play something like any of the new games that come out, and they just don't, they feel dead after a while. Even fucking Animal Crossing felt dead. Like, that was the hotness in March of last year when...
Animal Crossing's the shit. I didn't play it at all, but I had a ton of friends who played it. Turnip stocks are up, dude. That's all I'm gonna say.
Dude, turnip stocks, dude.
But yeah, man. No, I mean, just games in general. I mean, no matter like how much you think a game is good or bad, you know, they'll wear on you after, you know, a dozen hours, 30 hours, 50 hours, 100, 200, you know, and so on hours. A game is you're going to get to a point with a game where you're like, fuck, like, there's nothing more for me here. There's nothing left. Either I move on or I have to be creative to find something to give this value to me, like in my heart, you know, to justify me, even if I'm just, you know, using my free time to just fuck around and play. Like, there has to be some like mindset there of that. Like, I do that with GTA games. I'll just pop on a GTA game for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you know, and just, you know, get a 4-star wanted level, fuck around, shoot some people, and then turn it off. And then that's it, you know. Or GTA 5, go grief a couple players in free roam, smash a helicopter into them, and then LMAO, you know, okay, we're done. Turn it off for the next few months or whatever it is, right? And that's my, for me with those games, that's my mindset with it, right? And because I've already put so much enough hours for me to get to that point. So if you are talking again to the listeners, if you are curious about speedrunning and you want to get into it, make sure that you spent enough time with the game in question, that you spent enough time with it, that you have really gotten to that point where you're like, you know, that you are starting to run out of value of it as a casual player. Because let me tell you something right now, you're not gonna want to speedrun a game if you can't enjoy it like casually to its fullest capability, right? Until you fully have like exhausted everything from it as much as possible. And then you're like, all right, I'm ready to bash my head against the wall and reset over the stupidest mistake. Only then will you be ready to do that if you want to get if you care about getting like a good time or something like that. Now, of course, there's like casual runners for games who just, whatever. Here's a random game I never heard of. Let me run it as a, you know, but that's a different mindset than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something a little bit more dedicated.
Yeah, if you're going to really seriously run a game, you better love it. Because if you don't, like, you are going to burn yourself out so bad. It's not going to be a fun experience. And like you said, there are people that'll be like, I'm going to run whatever the newest garbage game that comes out on the Switch is.
Some games are memes, you know, Mr. Krabs overdoses on ketamine, you know, whatever. Like, shit like that is like, hey, you know, it's a fun meme. Hey, you know, and maybe if you grind out for like a day or two, you'll get like an okay run or a good run. And it's hype for that moment and you move on to the next thing. That's not what I'm talking about. With speedrunning, like, you know, I've gone on this really long journey with one game, with Spyro 1. And you can get the same thing out of any fucking game that you really have passion for, that you think is like deep enough that you can keep exploring its mechanics, that you can keep getting better at it. There's a million crazy, deeply, you know, mechanical, crazy physics games out there that, you know, you watch like, you know, high level players, you know, play, dude, the games like Breath of the Wild, you see some of these like technical, like combo sort of like shield, fucking launch, crazy attack, flurry, rush exploits in it. And it's like, dude, as someone who just casually plays Breath of the Wild, that's crazy. That gives you something to work towards, to see something like that. Or if, for example, in a fighting game like Melee or Tekken, you know, as you dig into that, the further you dig into games like that, the more you realize that there's just so much to learn. There's so much to uncover. And the more you learn, the less you feel like you know. Like, that is just like the coolest feeling in a game, I think. And I think speedrunning exemplifies that.
The more I think about this, I think you may be the only speedrunner that I really know of that has devoted so much time to one game, the only asterisk being, and it's not Super Mario 64. Like, you know, are so many SM64 people that are just like, oh, this is my game, this is my life, this is my creed, this is my rifle, this is my gun, right? And like
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
what they
OOT
do.
is like that as well. Ocarina of Time is a long time speed run, and there've been games before that. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, especially the comparison. Because I've made that same comparison in my head before between Super Mario 64 and Spyro. They have a lot in common. They're both like you go into levels, but they're open-ended level designs where you can just collect. It's a collectathon at your own will of stars, right, or red coins or whatever. In Spyro, it's gems and dragons, right? But they're open-ended levels, level-based action-adventure game with open-ended level design, environment design, collectathons, and they're both very, deeply seated and deeply nuanced speedruns in their movement optimization. And so, yeah, I definitely make a lot of connections there in my head because I love Mario 64 speedruns. I think they're awesome. And levels of optimization and trying to get good
Mhm.
controllers, using it like, oh, should I use a hori pad? I can't get a steel stick or whatever, so I can't do this strat, or something like that. Or, oh, let me try this strat, but let me do a variation on Cannonless where I don't have to do as much of the setup.
Right. Yeah.
Things like that. And it's just like it's so deep, man. Speedrunning is so deep. For a game like Mario 64, Spyro, it's so deep, but you can see everything. If you're new to the game, you can see it all right in front of you. If you see a top level player fuck up in either of those games, you'll know. You'll know that they fucking died or that they missed something or they got hit by something. And I think that's really cool because it's like no matter how deep we think a game is, it's like there's still always like you either did something right or you did something wrong, and that's like always going to be obvious on the screen,
Right. Yeah. And I think about it too. Like we're talking about Ocarina of Time and SM64. The two top players in those games for years are ZFG and Cheese. Cheese ran Ocarina of Time, right? So even he
Isn't it
is
like
just
debatable with Cheese? I feel like Simply is taking him over, and then
well.
Liam had record
Simply
for a while, and Punkay is always been on the scene, and like I
shout out
feel like
to
it's debatable. And then with ZFG, it's like he's had the 100% record for years, and he's definitely been one of the most dedicated players. But then there's like so
True,
many other people that have been crucial in the game's history that have come and gone. And then there's
right?
dudes nowadays like Glitchymon, who's always been around, who's like kind of rising through as well. There's like dudes like Any Percent Legends, like Torreya. There's Narcy, who of course is a legend, unto themselves. So there's like all this history there. And when
Very
people look at
true.
Spyro 1, maybe right now they see me. They see, okay, here's Dayo, this dude who's been playing for 8 years. He's like the guy who plays Spyro 1. Right? He's Spyro 1. I'm Spyro 1 or something, right? But there's this whole history there of many years of other players being in the spotlight. Chris LBC, Saboom, Tuval. There's all these other players that are a part of this game's history, and people who are still active now, dudes like Hum. Yeah, I don't want to start naming names, but like there's a bunch of people who are still around
Right.
and are still active, and that's part of what is like really cool about speedrunning as a community effort is that there's a whole like history in there. And I think we were talking a lot about speedrun content earlier, is tapping into that like community history there, while also lifting up the individual players and telling their story is a really interesting and delicate balance that we're seeing different content creators nowadays starting to make a lot of really cool YouTube videos about into different like depths of like player versus accomplishment versus community relevance in the history and all of that stuff. There's like different little rabbit holes to explore everywhere there, I think.
Yeah. The one thing that I was making a larger point on, talking about everybody, and you kind of you set it up. You mentioned all those people. I think what's so impressive about what you've done is that everybody else at one point did a different game, right?
Mm.
All those people you mentioned, all those people you listed, like a dozen people across,
Yeah,
they
ton of
all
different
did.
legends. Yeah,
They all stopped and did something else, and you didn't, right? You didn't play a different game. That's the insane part. That's the really crazy part. And then you were talking about content creators, and there are some, and this is probably like the most inside baseball that I'll talk about it because
okay. Oh, juicy drama alert.
No, no drama.
Go ahead.
This is probably like the. Hey, listen, that's after the podcast. I'll tell you.
Oh, all right.
But like there are some creators who think the most interesting element is the actual tech, and that's the story that they tell. And for a lot of people, that's what they want to know, right? And everything else comes secondary.
Oh,
and I'm gonna give a good example without being critical of the content, because I thought it was a decent video and I thought it was a good video, and everyone's gonna like immediately know, or I think most people are gonna have seen it. It's the newest summoning solve video that came out was about the ultra shortcut, and it was a follow up to a previous video that he made.
Yes.
And what Salt does very well, and it's not worth, like, I think some content creators kind of like, and I'm one of them, they'll talk sideways out of their mouth about him. But the one thing that he really does really well is that he explains sometimes what I would consider to be kind of boring, but really technical speedrun stuff in a very accessible way. And the people part is the secondary part. So much so that the thing that I thought was the most like, oh, this is the silly, like, talking about how this is a human being, is that while waiting to set up a trick, this man ate a sleeve of Oreo cookies. Right? That's like the extent of the inside look at this person's psyche that we're getting. Whereas in the Ricky video, I felt like I would like have a beer with you by the end of it, right? Like I'm like, this man and me are gonna do, me and you are gonna do a 6-pack. I don't know, domestic or foreign,
I'll
your
do
choice.
It, man. I'll do it. I'll do the domestic. Let's go draft, man. Let's get a flight, dude. Let's go to a nice brewery. Dude, let's just fucking turn it up. I'm down. Let's do it.
I didn't know this, but apparently, because I think Yingling is a really shit beer, but apparently, people really like it, and it's a regional, like, microbrewery or whatever. Not micro.
It's a lager, right? Yingling?
Yeah, I think so.
I've tried it once, I think. I mean, I'm not a huge lager guy. I'm more of an IPA guy, but I do like lagers. And of course, you know, most American cheap beers are just cheap lagers anyways. So I have a soft spot for a higher quality lager. I just had one earlier. Forgot what it was called. Oh, by Beechwood. It was a local brewery. I find with beer, it's nice to get something that's local. That's my take on that.
I think so. I think you get a more of a palate of the area when you do that.
Something fresher. I think it's fresher than something that's imported from out of state or whatever.
Yeah, there's a local brewery and brewery bar kind of deal in my town, which is really good, and they have their own beer. But I gotta say one thing, my man. I hear you about the IPA, but I gotta say, if you get a bad IPA, you're drinking pine cones.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. IPAs that aren't good are like some of the most bitter, like gnarly. You got to be ready for the bitterness of the hops. It's like it's a very bitter, dehydrating drink, you know. And I have come to appreciate it, but I can totally understand where it's like, oh, get this shit out of my face, you know. This is not satisfying at all. And there are very few good IPAs out there, and they vary and they change over time. And IPAs are a tough one, and I can totally understand why people don't like them. I always end up pairing IPAs with like a sour beverage or maybe a sugary beverage alongside. So I'll be drinking like those two drinks and some ice water. That's my strategy there.
You got to go for it, you know.
Yeah.
And you
got to turn up. I mean, that's just turning up right there. Like,
yeah, exactly. You know the game. I personally, I just can't do the stouts. The fucking dirt at the bottom. Oh my god.
Oh, they're good. I like some stouts, especially like peanut butter, chocolate, coffee, all those flavors. Those are really good. Belching Beaver makes a really good stout. I've not really had a lot of trouble with detritus at the bottom, as you say. I know with hazy IPAs that can be a thing. But yeah, I mean, dude, the bottom of a beer, no matter what kind of beer it is, the bottom of it is always going to be the gnarliest sip, you know? Like that's just how it is.
So. But like I'm thinking of like Guinness dirt, man. I'm talking like
ugh.
Like you could plant a fucking seed in there and you'd have like a flower.
You'd have a beer tree.
You'd have a fucking
sprouts more bottles. That's how they make it.
That's how they grow Guinness.
Yep.
Oh shit, man. You know, this has been a great conversation. Is there anything? Oh, there is one thing we said we were going to get back to it, and then we never talked about it.
What?
How did you get your name?
Oh yeah. So my screen name. Here's the story of my screen name. So when I was in 3rd grade, in my classroom, in the class I was in, there was a whiteboard sitting right there for everyone. Any kid could go up and just draw on it. It was just a whiteboard that was available to everyone, right? And kids would draw like the cool like little Superman S thing or whatever that is, right? Or they'd draw like cool like little like pictures and stuff, or they'd draw like cute stuff or whatever. And I didn't know how to draw anything. But what I would always do is I would always write the word yo in like little square, like quick letters, almost like a tag, like I was a gangster or something. I'd like roll up real quick and be like grab the marker and go like, yo, and then boom, and then I'm out. And I thought that was like cool. And so I did that like every day for a couple weeks. Just like real quick tag yo. And I remember feeling like super like, oh man, I'm a sneaky yo, and I remember sitting at my desk and there were some students standing over by the whiteboard playing around with it, drawing stuff. And I remember hearing one of them say, I could hear from my desk, I remember hearing them say, man, who's the person that keeps writing yo on the whiteboard, man? Who's the yo man? And I'm like, yo, I'm the yo man. That's me. And so later that night, I went home and I had found out about RuneScape that day. RuneScape, this is back in like 2004, 2005 or something. And one of my friends told me about RuneScape. So I made a RuneScape account that night. And it was Dayoman 7. And that's still the same RuneScape account I play on today.
Wow.
And yeah, and so that was my screen name for everything. That, of course, at that point, that was like my screen name, and that's what stuck is Dayo. And of course, everyone reads that as Dayoman, which is totally fine. I mean, I don't fault anyone for that. I actually ask for people not to call me Dayoman because that's even more awkward to pronounce than Dayoman. But either way, yeah, it's just a funny story. That's like my backstory with my screen name. It doesn't mean anything. I don't as fondly identify with the word yo as I did back in 3rd grade, but I do identify with this screen name, and so it's cool.
That's awesome, man. I'm really happy. That's actually a really cool origin story. I have I have one that I'll tell you off air for a dumb nickname I got in high school. I refuse to tell it.
Oh, it's too dirty for the masses.
Yes, that's exactly it. It's too dirty. I don't want another living soul to ever call me it. So.
Oh my god, yeah.
All right.
I'm stuck being called Dayo, so that's just the way it goes. That's how screen names are, man. If you think you have a cringy screen name, it's fine. Like, that's just your destiny, bro, and you gotta embrace it, bro. Straight up.
The CJitsallGewd tag has a cringy one, but I think it's funny and I own it. Right?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, you just gotta own it. Whatever your screen name is, if you think it's stupid, if it's like butt sex 123, like you gotta. That's fucking awesome. That's an awesome screen name, if you ask me. Butt sex 123. I think I might actually change my name to that. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, exactly right. But spell sex SECKS.
Yeah, dude, I tried making a Twitch emote that was like the word sex in a heart, right? And I didn't want to get caught, so I named it, instead of Dayo Sex, I named it Dayo 53X. Right? Like the letters SE. Well, anyways, that emote got taken down, of course. So yeah, no more Dayo Sex. But anyways, yeah. That's me. That's my whole story. But CJ, it was a pleasure doing this interview with you. I could tell we're probably like wrapping up here in a minute. Yes.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Well, thank you very much for your time. Thank you to everybody who's been listening each and every week. You guys are awesome. Like I said, download, subscribe, share it with your friends. And I know some people message me and they're like, does it really help? Yes, it really does help. It is really helping keep the show going. We want to make sure that we have the people on that you want to listen to, people that we want to talk to have the best conversations as possible. I don't want to be the podcast that just interviews cheese and then folds. I want to make sure that the show continues and that we're building a great body of work and that we're proud of each and every episode, which we currently are. So keep doing what you're doing, everybody. Just that's all I'm asking you to do. All I'm asking you to do is to keep doing what you've been doing. Listening to the show, telling your friends, sharing it, liking, downloading, all that fun stuff. Dayo, we're going to plug you really quick. You can follow my guest today on twitch.tv. That's /Dayoman. That's D-A-Yo-Man. Dayoman. There you go.
Yeah.
I believe your Twitter is at Dayoman with 2 A's. So it's
2 A's at the end. Yeah.
Dayoman. So Dayoman. Yes. Dayoman.
Yes. Dayoman.
Then your
I have an Instagram. I have my speedrun.com profile. I got a Discord channel. Check my Twitch, of course, if you want links to all that stuff. I have a TikTok and a Snapchat. I'll send you an individualized Snapchat if you add me. That one's Dayoman7. Of course, if you want to add me on RuneScape, that's Dayoman7. And yeah, the Twitter and Instagram and TikTok are Dayoman. So thank you guys for following me or caring about me. If you do it all, and thank you for watching this episode. It means the world to me, and I will certainly catch you on the flip side as well. So cheers.
And I will catch you all next week with another great episode. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. You wanted to see it. You wanted to hear it. I'm happy to deliver this to you. It's been a great conversation. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Peace.